What's going on, gamers? So there was a post by IGN. There's been a post by a lot of other people that I want to talk about that exposes the gaming industry's invasion with like this AI upscaling and taking shortcuts throughout the beginning of the PS5 generation and the Xbox Series generation. Definitely when it comes to Unreal Engine as well and rushing out games. And Resident Evil Requiem for the Switch 2 has exposed everything. And you guys probably gonna know what I'm getting to. Let me explain this. So it tells you about how you never needed this much technology compared to what you thought you did too on PC with the higher specs and all that. Capcom has gotten Resident Evil Requiem on the Switch 2, and we're going to take a look at this, to run at 60 frames per second. A next-gen game, the latest next-gen game in 2026, is running at 60 frames per second docked on the Switch 2. And when I say that, I'm like, oh, hold up here, man. Hold on, man. Hold on. So, and then we see like these problems with Gearbox and Borderlands being paused. What are we talking about here? Guys, this tells you a lot about some of these developers and how lazy they are and how much they have taken certain shortcuts. And we knew. What game is that? What engine is Borderlands using? Unreal Engine 5. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to do the work anymore. But now with the way the market is going, they're going to have to do the work. And there's a lot to talk about in this video, and we're going to get to this and see these details because I haven't looked at it. But it says right here, Resident Evil Requiem 2 on Switch 2 is horrifyingly great, right? And if we go over to the IGN article, there's a video right here talk about it. Resident Evil, right here, Requiem shoots for a smooth, God, this is smooth 60 frames on Switch 2. And I didn't notice any drops. What? Oh, man. You see, like, when you talk about these narratives that get pushed, man, and guys, I have to talk about this type of narrative. This is not about even it just being Nintendo, but it's about what you're doing with that technology that's available. And Capcom is, like they call them, Capcom is showing the industry. Come on, man. Let's stop playing these games. You guys are lazy. And guys, this is good because this literally outs it all. The whole time you were getting shafted on PlayStation this whole generation. That's why the delay needs to happen on Xbox, on PC, getting those crappy ports. And they were going for profit and they were following that NVIDIA template. This is crazy. We need to look into this. Let's go right here. One thing I want to check real quick is a fanboy. He comes down here saying it's better on PS5, PS6 fan. Yeah, this guy's a pony. Ponies, sit down. I had to say this. It's been a while. And I love PlayStation, but you guys know how I am when it comes to the fanboy stuff. Why would you come and say that when this is actually a favor for all of gamers? I want you guys to think about this. This is exposing all the BS that you had to go through. This should be that damn. This says a lot about the gaming industry. If a game in 2026, which is the latest next-gen big game that's coming out, going to be one of the hugest games, Game of the Year contenders of the year, is coming from Capcom on the Switch 2 technology, and they're able to get 60 frames per second, this is saying a lot. This is helping out gamers. This is Capcom showing you the truth look, let me show you something. And they said, guys, let's talk about this. It's right here. I didn't notice any major drops. I can't wait to see Digital Foundry's video on this. You see what I mean? Let's see right here what IGN has to say. Guys, this is nuts. For real.
Show here at IGN Nintendo Voice Chat. Logan, you just played two big, awesome, exciting, highly anticipated Capcom games on Nintendo Switch 2, which blows my mind that's even happening. Makes me so happy. Let's start with Resident Evil Requiem. I think probably my most anticipated game of the year. I was shocked to find out that this game was coming to Switch 2, and it'll be there day and date. So yeah, tell me all about it.
Yeah, it was awesome on Switch 2. The demo I played is something we've seen before. It is Grace waking up kind of in the hospital bed after she was captured and then tiptoeing through these dimly lit hallways. You find a lighter, you go into a dark room, big jump scare, big horrifying monster chases you for the rest of the demo. So it's nothing new content-wise, but just playing it on Switch 2 was the new thing, and great, fantastic version of this game. Awesome that it's going to be there on launch, and this game runs at 60 FPS on Switch 2, which
nuts.
I didn't expect. I thought.
Did you hear what he just said? It runs at 60 FPS on the Switch 2, and I didn't expect it. Runs great, fantastic. I didn't expect this. but Capcom is doing it.
Thought it would be 30 for sure, like Final Fantasy VII Remake just was on Switch 2.
But that didn't
also
seem
a
like
great
it.
port, but that's just what I was expecting. But like playing it, I think the biggest compliment that I can give Requiem on Switch 2 is that I was so terrified being chased by this monster that I no longer cared what version I was playing. 'Cause when you go to one of these events, you're like, you have such a critical eye of the Switch 2 thing. We're not used to these big games being on Nintendo platforms yet. So you're like, oh, the lighting on the wall doesn't look probably as good as it does on PS5, and all these things that if you're just playing this game at home, you wouldn't think about. But the second that monster like sprints out at you and then is just following you for the rest of the demo, I'm not worried about lighting, textures, or frame rate or anything because it looks so good. I'm immersed in this world, and it doesn't matter anymore. Like, this is a totally great way to play this game.
Did you see what he just said, though? This guy's actually a gamer. He's just looking to get the gaming experience. He's like, but as a gamer, I was getting my gaming experience. I'm not sitting here hard staring with a magnifying glass and stopping and saying, wait, let's take a look at these details like this. Let me stop here and take a look at these details like this. No, that gave me my gaming experience, and Capcom got it to happen. And there's people that are only in the Nintendo world that are never going to get out of there. People love their handheld experiences, and you're going to be able to get that experience. And this is good for the expansion of amazing developers like Capcom. So this game is going to sell tons of copies, and that's good from a gaming perspective. Not sitting here being a pony like that one guy. You see what I mean? It's like, dude, that's a stupid comment. If you want to talk about PlayStation, let's do it in an intelligent manner. When you're comparing it against something that actually makes sense. But to say that is dumb because this is actually benefiting the whole gaming community because this opens people's eyes to let you know what has always been possible. Even at the latest game in 2026, you were shafted as a gamer, and everybody knows it.
I'm scared.
See, this is like on a personal level. This is I don't know what to do with this information because I have a PS5, I've got a Series X, I've got a gaming PC. Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8 are two of the best looking visually games ever made. But the portability on Switch 2 is one of those things where I'm like, the slight, the trade-off in textures and stuff like that versus the fact that I can bring this thing anywhere. That's it. Oh man, I might have to double dip.
Like for me personally, I'm still gonna play this on PlayStation 5. Like I think if you need
PlayStation
the
5 Pro.
portability, or if you don't have another place to play it, absolutely don't hesitate. Like it's gonna be great on Switch 2. But if you still have a PS5, like Resident Evil games are always visual showcases. That's still gonna be the better place to play it.
Exactly. You see what he just said? But if you have it's like, of course, I have a PS5 Pro. You think I'm playing this on a Switch 2? No. If Capcom wants to send me a code to show it off on a Switch 2, I mean, sure. I'll do that. Yeah, sure. Got a yard out there. But I don't see why I would choose to pay for the Switch 2 version over my PS5 Pro version. There's a huge difference there. I'm going to be able to get probably native 4K 60, like I said, with ray tracing effects. I'm taking that. I'm getting a full experience. You know what I mean? But if I had a whole bunch of tips saying, oh man, I'm tipping you here, man, go get it on Switch 2 as well. I'm like, all right, whatever. Or Capcom's like, here's a code for the Switch 2. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. But yeah, I'm playing it on the PS5 Pro. That is the superior option. But this right here speaks more than just comparing options. As I said, it says a lot about the industry and how lazy these developers have been and how much shortcuts they've taken.
So slightly, or I'll say significantly less exciting for me is that you got to play it with the new Switch 2 Pro controller that has a Resident Evil newspaper clipping on it. Of all of the iconic things from the history of that franchise,
yeah, that's pretty dope.
That's where they went, which I was a little like, okay, I'm glad I don't collect Pro controllers, but what was it like seeing that in person?
Yeah, it's not a great controller. I honestly, I was playing in a very dimly lit room. They're trying to set the vibe for just the horror atmosphere, and I'm in this big armchair, and the Capcom rep has to tell me, oh, by the way, that's the Resident Evil Pro controller, because it looks the same. You don't even notice if it's a little bit dark in there. But the Switch 2 logo is covering the Resident Evil logo, so it's like Resident Switch 2 Evil. It's a bizarre controller, but yeah, I did play with it. And if you're watching when the jump scare happens in this footage with my controller kind of in the shot, you can see that I totally jumped at the jump scare because I'm not that good with horror games. I love Resident Evil, but I kind of have to push myself through them, which is why I'm excited that this has the first and the third person option, because first person horror is a little much for me, but third person can totally do it. And it's cool because Grace trips and stumbles over herself when she's running from the monster in third person because she's also really terrified and hasn't done this before, like Leon, who's done it a million times at this point.
Right. Are you sure you didn't just see like the price tag on the Switch 2 Pro controller and
Yeah, that's what made me jump. You have $100.
No, I'm really excited to see how the Leon stuff. I mean, period, because I've played the Grace demo at Gamescom last year and it's really cool. But once I found out Leon's in there, I'm an old school Resident Evil 4 guy, which honestly makes me miss the Chainsaw controller. I hope they get to make something like that again someday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to see how this game scales, because obviously we've seen smaller environments like the small hallways and corridors that you've been in, and I'm wondering how some of the larger the Capcom has stated this is not an open world game, but it does seem like it's going to have some big sort of areas. I know Village did. It had a lot of big sort of fields leading into castles and all this other stuff. So
yeah, guys, I mean, you hear them talking about it. You saw his experience. Like he said, he didn't notice any major drops here. You see? Hard choice where to play, PS5 Pro versus Switch 2. And people are thinking about that because of the portability. Look, once this guy says got my triple pack pre-ordered, there's people that'll get both because they like that type of stuff. The fact that it looks this good and is 60 frames, props to Capcom for optimizing the game, and Pragmata for the Switch 2. They got that going as well too. Glad I pre-ordered it alongside RE7 and 8. Capcom not playing games for the Switch 2. Yeah, I mean, they put all those games on there and they're getting 60 frames. This just tells you Capcom or God tier developers. Nothing new here. So you guys leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this right here and what this says about the rest of the gaming industry. Definitely over at Gearbox. You know what I mean? It's like, really? Later, y'all. Keep gaming no matter what platform you're on.